Welcome to the FSB York and North Yorkshire podcast. All roads lead to business support and, of course, to York and North Yorkshire. Welcome to the York and North Yorkshire FSB podcast series supported by City of York Council's Economic Growth team. We know that many small businesses and the self-employed are on an ever-twisting, unnerving and uncomfortable road, and we're here to smooth out those bumps and turns with expert advice, insight and inspiration. The FSB are experts in business since 1974 and are the UK's #1 support organisation for the self-employed and small business owners. Let us help you achieve your ambitions. To talk to us about membership, go to www.fsb.org.uk/join us, and for more information about support from City of York Council's Economic Growth Managers, go to www.york.gov.uk. Today I'm speaking with Ian Walker, who's founder of Ian Walker & Co Chartered Accountants from Poppleton, and they've been providing services to the wider York business community for 12 years. Ian's team comprises of 15 professionals, and he's a member also of the LEP Business Board at the York and North Yorkshire LEP. We'll chat to Ian about his career and what small businesses can gain from a partnership with their accountant. So thanks for joining us, Ian. Tell me about you a little bit more and your path into self-employment and a little bit more about your company.
Thank you, Carolyn. Thanks for having me along. I started in accountancy in 1985, 37 years ago, I'm guessing. And I went into it as a training contract at a local accountancy practice, which then passed through my AAT to then sit a training contract under ACCA. I managed to qualify in 1994. And during that time, I did all my training vocationally. So I didn't attend university or college full time. I exercised day release and sat the exams each summer and each Christmas on occasion. And so therefore I could learn the theory and exercise the experience at the same time. And then migrated into industry for a couple of years once I qualified in the late 90s, and then decided I preferred being in practice, and I've been back in practice ever since. So
that's amazing to have all that vocational experience as well, and something that we definitely advocate for people going into business. So that's really interesting to hear. So in a nutshell, what does the Ian Walker & Co brand stand for?
Well, that's quite hard to boil down, but one example that I do like to refer to is about putting your business in a position where you as the owner can live in faith and not fear. You can put together the component parts that means that your service offering or the offering of goods and services is an attractive opportunity for your customers and potential customers. And it means that once you are aware that you have put all the building blocks in place for your business as regards budgeting, pricing, sourcing the best quality components, whatever that might be, the best advisors, then it means that you as the entrepreneur can live in faith, not fear. You can have confidence that you are doing all you can for your business offering to be as good, if not better, than your competitors in that market. So whilst that is a tricky question to answer, Carolyn, we do believe at my firm in living in faith, not fear, from a commercial and a business perspective.
I really love that as a purpose and a brand value. That's an amazing measure to live by, and really interesting that you've found that. And I understand that came about through doing some peer-to-peer training and networking, and that revelation came to you during that course.
It did, yes. Interestingly, I was part of a peer-to-peer group, which is exactly as what it says. Basically, everybody helps each other with business matters that are on the go. And during that process, which ran for approximately 3 months, we found that very fulfilling. All the participators spoke to one another on a fair and level and open basis and got the best results out of it. But one day when I had the floor, then I mentioned exactly what I've just mentioned there about living in faith, not fear, from a business and commercial perspective. And my fellow participators picked up on that. And we had 15, 20 minutes talking about what they needed to do in their respective businesses so that they could get there. And one or two of those proprietors have come back to me and said that they actually made a huge difference to their businesses and their ventures because it impacted upon the positivity of their decision making. And I'm just pleased to have played a small part in their businesses.
We're huge advocates of continuous learning, and that really is helpful to learn from other business owners, not just other business advisors. So thanks for sharing that.
My pleasure.
What are you most proud of as a business owner in that time that you've been in business?
Well, that's quite a question, Carolyn, but I am most proud of my team and my teams over the years. I get a lot of fulfillment from developing people, developing professionals, and pushing people through their exams and professional education as far as they wish to go. The exams and the qualifications are great, but that's not necessarily the end of the story. We develop many unqualified accountants who develop and progress skills that will put them in good stead for many years to come. And I find that very fulfilling professionally, bringing those people along of all ages. It's not all about taking the youngsters. Often we get people in their early middle ages who take a career change, and we take those people forwards, teach them skills, soft skills, harder skills as regards theory and technical matters, and also about how to communicate.
So lots of homegrown talent.
They are our favourites, yeah. We try and grow our own, as they say.
Brilliant. And how do you manage that recruitment process? We're hearing from a lot of businesses at the moment that it's very stressful recruiting. Who do you rely on most in times of stress? Is it your team? How do you manage those challenges really of being self-employed?
That's a very searching question. It's where to start on that. I find the avoidance of stress is the best starting point. And my view is there's a difference between being busy and being stressed. And I don't think stress gets us very far at all. So I try and manage that. And we then try and, in essence, hunker down as a team, help one another insofar as trying to find the answers to solutions for our clients and help one another so that people don't feel isolated and people don't feel that they are solely responsible for advising others and indeed helping their workmates in times of stress and pressure.
I guess you pass that advice on to clients as well, managing their own financial stress.
We do. We find the best way to focus upon problems and significant matters that need addressing in business is to find the facts, basically. A fact find of exactly what the matter at hand is critical to being able to broach those problems and to derive a plan going forwards. So fact find is important, and then we can go from there as regards ensuring that we aren't wasting time just considering opinion as opposed to the actual heart of the matter, and then focus clearly on providing concise but accurate communicated points to resolve that problem, whether that be internal issues within my firm, within the team, or within our client base.
And in these turbulent times and heading into recession, is that different to any other time? You've got a wide range of experience of many different economic situations across your career and with many different clients from different sectors. How would you advise companies to survive that turbulence of the economy at this time?
Well, in light of my longevity in the profession, we've been through many recessions, inclusive of the banking crisis. And indeed, many would say that we are probably heading to another recession currently, which we definitely have difficult times. So therefore, I'm bound to say this as an accountant, but the business owners should be focusing on their numbers, ensuring that their numbers are accurate and that they are timely, and ensuring that they understand how to interpret them. Trend analysis, what looked different a month, 2 months, 2 years ago, can be very interesting and a very good tool for good decision making now. So all businesses should be exercising what we would refer to as good numbers all of the time, but at a time of recession and difficulty, then such is absolutely critical.
So it's all about data-driven decision making and really seeing the whole picture before making those decisions. And what we've seen recently with business owners is that they're in a really difficult place, and so they're making decisions based on their maybe on their gut feeling, or you're advising definitely look at the figures first?
Yeah, I'm bound to. With all that education as regards numbers, business, I'm bound to approach these things from a numbers corner. And me and my team are very sympathetic to the challenges of different sectors at different times, not only in times of recession, but as I said, then recession definitely amplifies the need for strong, reliable numbers from which you can then take some education from your professional advisors as regards how to interpret those numbers. And that should lead to good decision making. Gut feeling, I've never ruled that out. That's great. But we would prefer to work from a more solid base of solid and good, reliable numbers.
Great. And you just talked about learning, and you're obviously very passionate about vocational learning, bringing on your staff and learning yourself as a business owner. We know that those qualifications are difficult to gain. What is the value of that continuous learning, and where can you advise people to find that education really for themselves as business owners? They go into business with a passion for, say, cake baking, but how do they get that education about their back office, about their business numbers and things? What are your tips for learning?
Well, you need to have an open mind to learning. Having that USP, that fantastic product, that wonderful cake that everybody will eat and enjoy and hopefully buy again, is undoubtedly the nub of any business. But you have to be able to understand about how to make profit and to derive cash surplus from the same. Profit and cash surplus can often be different things, and it's important to understand the difference.
Is that one of the right questions businesses should be asking their accountant?
They most certainly should, and it's important that any business looks to their accountant as a partnership. It's important that businesses don't just look upon their accountant as a facilitator to meet obligations to the authorities. Most practices, if not all practices, should really be providing more than that.
Are you still a small business owner at heart, despite your growth and success?
I am. I've always been advising small business. Yes, obviously there are a number of large businesses that we currently continue to advise and support, and there have been many over the years which you would decree as large employers, large businesses. But at my heart is small business, the local business community, and helping those people to not only make their business a success, but also to put their mind at rest that they can do this, that they can have confidence that their business will be successful, so they can sleep on a night and actually enjoy the journey.
Absolutely, and all that advice is out there. You're a member of the York and North Yorkshire LEP Business Board, which manages the Growth Hub and access to the business growth managers and so on. What is the importance of that network to you, and giving back to the community through volunteering and being part of that direction for our business community here?
So it's important for all businesses to have reliable advisors and support, but it doesn't always have to take the form of accountants or solicitors or indeed bank managers or financiers. There are organisations out there such as the LEP, FSB, the council, who can provide great insights into supporting your business, free advisory, free presentations, some good content on the web. It's a matter of having the forethought to look and to participate. Secondly to that is that for myself as a boy born and bred in York, the local business community is critically important to me. I'm very proud to be an accountant in this city, and therefore we provide as a firm voluntary services to support local businesses. We do so through the LEP. We do presentations through NIBEP to educate youngsters as regards business. We have a partnership with York St John's over educating the enterprise ventures at the university there. And historically, we've done the same at the University of York and through the Archbishop of York's Youth Trust. We've always found the feedback from attendees of our seminars, readers of our web releases to be very, very positive. It's not about growing my firm. It's about getting the message out there of confidence that if you have a business idea, you really do have a framework in this city and the surrounding area to go and progress that to give that a chance.
Absolutely, and it's a super exciting time for York and North Yorkshire as we see a devolution deal come to our region. And you've talked a little bit about the business community here and the things that the LEP do. The advice on offer to businesses is so widespread, it's sometimes difficult for businesses to find out where it is. Can businesses just phone you up and come to you for that advice? How do they go about reaching you and your services and those other services? We know that we've got the business growth advisors that people can call, Brian Littlejohn, Louise Saw, particularly in City of York. How should businesses be approaching firms like yours or other professional services?
Well, they should be seeing that engagement of services as a partnership. Often certain businesses will again just look at this as being an engagement of annual compliance, submission of accounts to Companies House possibly, and tax returns, corporate or personal, to the tax office. But accountants and other business professionals offer so much more than that. And it's important that the initiation has to be from the business owner themselves to basically say, I need advice, or can you help with this? Because we as a firm, and we are only a small firm in York, carry a huge range of expertise across varied sectors, which derives business advisory as opposed to it being purely tax or accounting compliance. And it's important that the proprietors recognise that that resource is out there across most firms of accountants, most law firms, business consultants and coaches. And we would emphasise that the advice coupled with the compliance is the partnership which will help the businesses thrive.
Absolutely. Make the most of those services out there, I suppose, is what I've taken away from our conversation today. Small business owners often don't budget and plan ahead because they're so busy day to day, focused on their operations, or they're not quite sure how to do it. But we know it's really important for successful businesses. As an expert, can I ask you, why is that so important?
Well, it's inevitable that small business owners and even large business owners get involved with the day-to-day. That such are the demands of running a business, not only locally but in the UK. So plan to fail to plan. The key point there is that there has to be a plan. Less otherwise, the day-to-day transactions and day-to-day activities can all pass by in a whirlwind, and you sit down at the end of the day with a nice cup of tea and a biscuit and basically sit down and think, well, what have I achieved today? If we have a plan that we can gauge that to, that we can benchmark to, that is critically important. So therefore, as accountants, we are always pressing the benefits of cash flow projections and budgets to our clients, because in essence, they set out that with a fair breeze, this is what we would like our business to look like, against which you can monitor and peg your actual results to those budgets. That is critically important at any time, but at a time of recession, it's important because we end up where the variances, turnovers exceeded what the budget was expected to be, our costs have gone up. They're good matters to identify early so that you can make good informed decisions. And then in the middle of the next day that's a whirlwind and the next day that's a whirlwind, you can get to the end of that week or the end of that month and figure out whether that is working against the budget or not. And that, as accountants, we believe is absolutely critical to any business of any size.
And it can be straightforward and can be as straightforward as writing it down or using software to do that or getting your accountant to do it for you. It doesn't have to be a complex thing to make that budget and plan.
Correct. The people are often off-put by too much detail with their numbers, when in real terms what we need to do is just boil it down to the absolute headlines, to the basics. And again, your accountant or your business coaches or your supporters can help you with this as regards how to make a cash flow projection and a budget projection and a plan relevant to your business without getting bogged down in the detail.
Absolutely, and we have lots of templates for that available for FSB members through their dashboard and the website, and there is, again, lots of help out there. But this learning to read the accounts at the other end of the scale, so you make your plan, you run your business, and then you get the accounts back from your accountant quarterly, monthly, annually. It's a skill that many small business tell me they don't have. So how can they improve their skills and knowledge of actually learning to interpret what is in their accounts?
Well, that is a difficult skill because it would be easy to answer that to say, go and be an accountant, and then we can all recognise that we're all singing from the same hymn sheet. That's not practical, of course. So it's a matter of taking advice and support and to learn from your advisors as regards how to interpret those accounts and financial reports. Ensuring that you have consistency in those accounts and financial reports is the first key. And then understanding which indicators are important is the second. And it reminds me of when I was a trainee that one of my bosses that I worked for would look at a set of accounts and tell me the story that he was reading through those numbers. And it's one part of my career and my development that actually led me to getting more and more fascinated in business and accountancy and taxation. So whilst we all can't necessarily be the same as accountants because that is our trade and our profession, we can certainly take some highlights and take some early education so that we can interpret those accounts from a relatively basic perspective, but that will be enough to guide your business through.
And I guess in difficult times, that's more important than ever. How can businesses minimise their risk financially? You've talked about they can look at the story in the accounts, they can see trends in their accounts. What's the best thing for them to do to minimise that risk of running a business?
Well, it's not easy, and it's fair to say that every business carries a certain amount of risk. And at a time of recession and a time of uncertainty, then all businesses should try to mitigate and minimize that risk as far as they're able. So asking your customers for possibly some fees up front, or asking your customers to exercise more detail in the information that they provide you before you exercise your services is critically important. You really need to be focusing on making as much margin as you possibly can out of each client and each customer and each opportunity, whilst being fair and balanced over the pricing of your services and goods. So it's that analysis, it is that risk management that is important. And again, in the day-to-day whirlwind of business, it's easy to lose sight of that. And at a time of recession, it's critical that we don't.
I think pricing in particular is something that's very difficult as a startup business. So when you first start to offer your goods and services out into the market, people are sometimes nervous about pricing correctly. Do you have some advice in that area at all?
Yeah, that pricing's tricky, and pricing is difficult for all of us. It's difficult for businesses in the same sector, let alone across varied sectors. So again, you need to work backwards from the actual cost of the product or the cost of providing the service and the preferred or required level of profit and margin to therefore work out your pricing. Yes, it's an exercise that needs to be not only exercised at the start of provision of new goods or new services, but also needs to be monitored and tinkered with as you go along. Just basically stating that this is the price and that's what it shall be often isn't the answer. And additionally, at a time of high inflation, as we have now, basically stating, well, my fees are going up by X or the cost of those goods are going up by Y, without actually doing the analysis, it could be misplaced, really. So care and consideration as regards how to price is important. And you have to be confident that you are providing a quality goods, quality service, and that you believe it to be value for money for any of your clients and customers.
I think it's all about that story as well, isn't it? Passing on the reason to your customer, if that's possible as well, to get them on board. So that's really important. So it's the story that your numbers internally tell, but the story that you talk about your pricing externally into the marketplace as well.
Absolutely. And therefore, at times like this is when you will often hear the phrase of value added. You know, value added can mean all sorts of different things to all sorts of different entrepreneurs. But in simple terms, it's a case of this is the price, but this is what you get for that price, whether it be better quality, whether it be quicker turnaround times, whether it be
Made in York.
Made in York, exactly. What could be better than that? So having a value added slant to your pricing and your service or goods offering is really, really important.
Thanks so much for your insight. And I'll finish by just asking one more question. What is your number one, and you're only allowed one, that's difficult, I know, one top tip as a business leader to share with our listeners?
Well, that is quite a question, Carolyn, so thank you for that. I believe The key point for any business is to recognise the difference between hearing and listening. We must listen to people. We must absorb the advice that's provided and then make our own mind up as regards how that works for our respective ventures. Just going through the motions is not enough. We must listen and consider and appraise what we have heard so that we can make good decisions going forwards. I find communication to be a massive challenge to every single business out there, because invariably we're talking about technical matters or matters of the heart. People feel very emotional and very vested in their own businesses. So therefore, listening so that you can actually digest what the advice is really, really important.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because as someone external looking in, you can often see things in a business that the business owner can't see themselves. So I guess that's really good advice, that conversation and really talking about your business and not feeling alone and not just looking at it through your own eyes. So that's really great advice. Thanks so much, Ian. And I'll see you soon at Let Business Board.
Thank you, Carolyn. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me along.
Follow us at FSB North Yorks across our social channels for more business support from your local FSB team and signposting to our wide range of partners, including funded support programmes and free one-to-one local business advisor support across York and North Yorkshire.
FSB. FSB.